Good day, students. So today we'll be looking over factorization questions, right? How do we factorize trinomials? Well, with trinomials, we have a certain way in which we do it. It might look scary to the eye, these questions, but trust me, they are not. They are that simple. So let's write the first question. We have x squared minus 6x plus 8, right? Now the end goal, we want two brackets, just like this. That's our end goal. But how do we get to that end goal? And that's what we're gonna be diving into today. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now, very important, we look at the sign of the middle term. That is a negative, right? And our term is a 6. And then we look at our last term. What's our last term? Our last term is an 8 and it is positive. Last term is positive. So we have a negative 6x and we have a positive 8. Now, when we factorize, we look at this last term and we ask ourselves, what are the factors of 8 that when we add together, they can give us this middle term, right? What are the factors of 8 that when we add together give us the middle term? That is very important. Very important. And that's the one thing that I want you to take out of this video. So we look at 8, right? 8 can be made up of 1 and 8, 2 and 4. So when we add or subtract these two, can we get a 6? 1 plus 8, that is 9. Also 1 minus 8, that is negative 7. 8 minus 1, that is positive 7, And when we look at our second batch, we have a 2 and we have a 2, we have a 2 and a 4. Now 2 minus 4, that's negative 2. 2 plus 4, that's 6. That's good. That's good. That's good. 4 minus 2, that's 2, right? So we should look at all options. But this one was interesting. 2 plus 4, that gives us 6. But in this case, we have a negative 6. We don't have a positive 6. All right. We don't have a positive 6. We have a negative 6. So negative 2 minus 4, that would give us negative 6. So we have to find a way in which we can put this in. So we have x squared minus 6x plus 8. Now let's write the x here. Now we're going to break this down. We know that negative 2 and negative 4, when we times them together, they give us an 8. But when we say negative 2 minus 4, that gives us negative 6. That is exactly what we want. So we are going to put this negative 2 over here. Then we're going to repeat the x. Then we're going to put a negative 4 over here. And we are done factorizing this. We are done. We just needed this step. We just needed to get familiar with this process. That's the process we needed to be familiar with. All right. And this is not official. There's no need for this, but this is a step that I like to have, that I like to check at times. Whether when we have this, can we go back and get our original expression? Well, let's do that. This is a binomial. This is also a binomial. X times x, that just gives us x squared. All right. And then x times negative 4, that just gives us negative 4x minus 2 times x, that gives us negative 2x minus 2 times negative 4, that gives us a positive 8. And when we simplify this, it gives us x squared minus 6x plus 8. So does it give us our original expression? Yes, it does. Therefore, we know that at this final step, what we did is correct. Let's look at the second question. Second question goes as follows: 2x squared plus 10x plus 3 minus 5x. Now, we are going to look at like terms in this case. Here we have x and an x, and then here we just have an x squared. Well, before we can factorize, we would want to add the like terms together because we can't do anything with this. We first have to simplify what we have. So we are going to have 2x squared plus 10x, 2x squared, and then we're going to have 10x minus 5x plus 3, and then 10x minus 5x, we know that that's going to give us positive 5x. Then we just have our positive 3 on the side. Now we can factorize what we have. Now, if you look carefully, this is not what we had at the beginning. Now, the x squared has a coefficient in front of it. So now we have to be careful of that. We have to be careful of that. And 3 is only made up of 1 and 3. When you times these together, these are the only factors of 3, 1 and 3. So 1 plus 3, that gives us 4. It doesn't give us the middle term. So this is where the variable, the coefficient on the x squared comes in handy. We know that it is going to come in handy. How? Let's take a look. We're going to have 2x plus 3, and then we're going to have an x plus 1. This is the first option. The second option, we can go with 2x plus 1 and then x plus 3, right? Because 3 times 1 gives us that 3, 3 times 1 gives us that 3, 2x times x gives us that 2x squared, 2x times x gives us 2x squared. So that is what we want to have at first. Now, let's look at these options. Let us look at these options. When we have a coefficient in front, that's where my favorite step likes to count. That's where my favorite step comes in. Whereas now we have to check which one of these two brings us back to our original expression. Let's start with this one. 2x plus 1, x plus 3. Let's foil those. First, outers. This is going to be our inners. Also our loss. Let's start with our first. We have 2x squared. Our outers plus 2x times 3. That's just going to be 6x. Inners, 1 times x. That's just going to be x. Then we have our loss, 1 times 3. That's just 3. Let's simplify further. We have 2x squared plus 7x plus 3. Does it give us our original expression? No, it does not. It does not. Therefore, you have to be careful on the arrangement that you have, whether that's a correct one or not. And you know that you have to put the correct arrangement in. Now, let's look at our second arrangement. Let's just take this off. Let's look at our second arrangement. We have 2x plus 3, x plus 1. Let's FOIL this. If first outers, inners, loss. Now let's times the first. We're going to have 2x squared. our outers, 2x times 1, that's just 2x. 3 times x, that's just 3x. 3 times 1, that's 3. Let's simplify further. We have 2x squared. 2x plus 3x, that gives us 5x plus 3. Now, does this bring us back to our original expression? Yes, it does. Therefore, it means that this, I don't know what highlighter I used here, but it means that this expression is the correct one, not this one. This one we scratch it out. We know that we're going to go along with this one. Let's just erase what we won't need. So we know that we're going with this one, and that's just it. This is the final step, but we just had to make sure that we chose the correct arrangement. We just had to make sure that we chose the correct arrangement. Let's look at our third example. We have x squared plus 7x plus 12. Now, what did I say? You pay attention to the sign that's in the middle. You pay attention to the sign that's in the middle. Look at the term also that's in the middle. That's a 7. Then you go to your last term. You check which factors of 12 that when I add give me 7 or subtract. We have 1 and 12. We have 2 and 6. We have 2 and 6. We also have 4 and 3. So when we add 1 and 12, 1 and 12 or subtracted, do we get 7? No. 1 plus 12, that's 13. 12 minus 1, that's 11. That's not going to work. 2 plus 6, that's 8. 2 minus 6, that's negative 4. 6 minus 2, that's just 4. Won't work. But 4 plus 3, what does that give us? It gives us 7. Now that gives us 7. So is this the proper one? Yes, it is. These are the terms that we should use. So open up our bracket. We have our x here. You see, there's no coefficient. Well, there's a 1, but like there's no coefficient. So that's a bonus for us. We have an x, and we know that we're going to use these. What signs are we going to take into account? Positives. Because 4 plus 3, that will give us 7. So it means we're going to use 4 and we're going to use 3. And that is it. That is literally it. You're done. You are done factorizing here. And that is how you are going to do these kind of questions. And this is the mindset that you have. The mindset that I want you to have is to look, while strategy is to look at what sign you have in the middle, look at the term that you have in the middle, right? First identify that, and then you look at your outside term, whether the factors of that outside term, when you add them or subtract them, does it give you that middle term? And you can also manipulate the signs, right? Depending on what you have in the middle, just to see that what the factors of 12, when you add them together, do they give you the 7? The factors of this last term, do they give you the middle term when you add them or subtract them? That's what I want you to take away from this video. And that is it for today.